that going. All right, welcome to the November 14th Comprehensive Planning Team meeting. We have Caitlin McCumsky, Dwight Youthy, Birch Craig present in person, and Jeremy Frame attending via Zoom. Does anybody have any updates to the meeting minutes from the October meeting? All right, we'll go ahead and mark those as complete and get them posted to the website. So the survey is, sorry, I thought I heard a noise like somebody was logging on. The survey is still going well. We're at 156 responses so far. Our second postcard is at the printers. It may go out this week, either the end of this week, he said, or early next week. I haven't heard anything yet. So I would assume early next week.
Is it still December 31st when they have to be in?
I think I put January 1st.
I read it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, so that'll go out. Mapping update and discussion. I know we had chatted a little bit. Birch, you were looking for some direction. Did you want to talk about the maps?
Yeah, I would like to know what maps. I want to add a geological map.
Yep, I think that would be great.
And then also see if there's a map for indigenous people or Indians.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they're called now. But yeah, do we want all these maps? I mean, Kyle will update what maps need to get updated. Do we have these in digital form? It's a PDF, right? So we can take what map, if we need a map and we're not updating it, we can get that.
Yeah, let me take a look here what I've got. I have the Word document version of the plan, so I assume
so that should have it.
That'll have something that we can edit.
Yeah.
My one thing is, and if it seems like it's a pain to change it, that's fine. But every map is based on this first one, and I don't understand why Hemlock, the lake names are like, some of them are upside down.
Or they're right side up and some are upside down.
Yeah, I don't know, but
the one you're saying, like map 2, Honeyroy Lake, Canadice Lake.
Yeah,
you'd like to see the Canadice and the Hemlock turned around.
I would think so. And all of the maps are like that because they're all based on that first map too. And again, that's just maybe me being nitpicky, but it sort of bothered me.
Well, if it bothers you, then we will see if we can get it fixed.
Okay.
Absolutely. You've gone through all these maps?
Have I?
Yeah.
I've looked at them, yeah, but that's why I want to. I mean, do we need them all?
That's what I'm thinking. I can't believe we need them all.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these I don't think are going to need a ton of updating. Like I'm sure the steep slopes hasn't changed. But that, some of these are reference documents also for us as like the planning board, because there's different codes that relate to steep slopes, correct? I don't think you can build on slopes of 15%.
No, but I don't think we're going to use these little tiny maps to do that. I think
no, I guess we've used
that has access to some other.
And I guess Encore has the lines on it. I think they're good for reference. I mean, if they're existing and they don't, like, I don't think that has probably changed in the last 10 years. And I doubt the land drainage patterns has changed a lot. I think the public lands, I made a note that there's a large section that's yellow for City of Rochester. That's, I think, just in, the legend just needs to be changed to DEC
It'd be state forest.
or state forest, whatever, yeah, whatever the correct label is. Map 6 is probably gonna need updating. There was the updated FEMA map that just came out, for map 6 being the floodplain areas.
Which is not official yet, but we'll use the new map.
Um,
I don't think the FEMA stuff has been officially adopted yet.
yeah, I just see what the county says, because that is part of our contract too. The regulated wetlands, I don't think that's gonna have changed. The map 8, the real property tax classification codes. I think that's one we may just want to take a look at to see if there were any major changes. I doubt there was a ton, but
Who makes the changes?
Birch is going to work with Kyle Ritz, who's a senior planner at the Ontario County Planning Department. And this will all be under our contract with them. Map 9, I said we need to add the water district. Map 10, I was confused. Map 10 is the soil limitations for conventional septic systems.
Yeah, I don't think we need that.
Yeah, and I didn't the legend was very confusing to me, slight, moderate, and
I think take it
severe.
out because the whole septic conventional,
Yeah, what does conventional septic mean?
And-
And there's changes in technology pretty
who
rapidly.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'm fine with removing that one. Current land use, that'll be one we want to take a look at. Environmentally sensitive areas, I'm not sure. I would assume that one has not changed much. Or do you think that one should be looked at?
It probably hasn't changed much, but let me ask a question.
Okay. So
I mean, I'm hoping all these maps they have digitally, but
I would think that they would.
some big project to map the entire county. They mentioned it last night, but plan board.
Okay.
But
Okay, that's really the only notes that I had. Did you have other questions or anything you wanted to go over? I'm sure maybe as you start getting into it, things will come up.
yeah, we don't have a big deadline. It's not like I told Kyle last night that we're not sure. But
Yep. Okay, any other questions about mapping before we move on to agenda item 4? Okay. So agenda item 4 is reviewing the sections in the plan. So on the first page, I just noted a couple of areas where it's referencing,
Where are we? 3. Are we on
sorry, yes,
page 3?
section 3
Section 3.
is page 17, development trends and projections. So I just noted a couple spots where we need to add the 2010 census update. It references the 2010 is the most recent. It's the only thing I had on the first page.
Should have 2020, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're 1663.
Yeah,
It's the
1664, I think. Oh, no,
Right.
sorry, that's 2010. Uh, 1668. According to this. But this is all of updating these charts is within our contract
Oh,
with
for a county.
the county.
Oh, good.
So we have 4 parts, 4 tasks technically for the county, and one of them is analysis and mapping of existing conditions. And the existing conditions analysis will also include, and E is demographic analysis. The demographic analysis will provide a comparison of Canadice and Ontario County population, household, and housing unit characteristics based on the 2020 census and/or 2022 American Community Survey. So I noted on my plan quite a few places where we just need to add, another column in for the most recent data. I did want to chat with you guys about
What'd you have for population?
this is from the hazard mitigation plan. Supervisor Vestal printed a page and it says the 2020 census population count for the town is 1668.
Some of these they have, it went to 2000
Yes.
and it was 1846. So we've gone down to 16
Mhm.
change.
Mhm.
I'm surprised.
Why?
It seems to be a lot of building going on.
But there's people dying too.
Not funny. Don't take that seriously.
And there is a note
Plus, I don't think we're getting families.
in one of these sections. It talks about that household size has decreased.
Yeah.
There's a whole chart about that the household size in 1970 was 3.02 people, and by 2010 it was down to 2.3.
Oh, that's right. Well, the school is losing.
Why are we
Shrinking.
comparing Candace, Richmond, Livonia, and Lima? Shouldn't we more stay within the county or not?
Which chart are you looking at, Birch?
Page 19.
Like Livonia and Lima.
Yeah, we can make a note. Is this the best comparison?
Maybe take similar towns within.
Like Bristol.
Right.
Be it.
South Bristol is a lower population. We're the second lowest population.
I think we have similar demographics to South Bristol.
But we're a little bit more populated, I believe.
Yep, slightly. Okay, so yeah, the first couple of charts, I just had notes that we needed to update with the most recent data. Once we get to page 21, so for that chart, do we want to just add a 4th column being 2010 to 2020? Or do we want to remove 1980 to 1990 and still just keep 3 columns?
I think add a column.
And then similar, once we get into the chart on page 22, 3.3, do we want to keep 1970 and just add a new column, or do we want to remove 1977 when we add 2020?
Let's say it.
When I add, you don't want to remove 1970.
No, it's nice to have historical reference.
Yeah,
I mean, I
agree
would-
with that.
I think it'd be interesting actually go back to 1900, but
Okay, so we'll keep 1970. Oh, so for the chart on page 24 at the top, population
but
changes.
going back to 22.
Sorry, yep,
So is this statement still true?
which one?
Nationwide, I mean, we're making these judgments nationwide. There's been tremendous growth in number of households, mostly because the members of exceptionally large baby boom generation became adults and formed their own. I mean, the baby boomers are starting to age out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
True, but that's relating to, I think, 1970 to 1990.
Yeah, but the
Peaked and then went down.
baby boomers were the 50s, right? Late 40s, 50s.
Yeah, I'm a baby boomer. I was 47, right after the war.
Right.
45.
I'm 50. So I think that demographic.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Birch, that we need to take a look at that.
All that. I mean,
That
we're-
paragraph may be a little dated. Some of that information may be interesting to include, but we may just want to make it a little bit more historical and say, you know.
Yeah, it just seems that we're making some broad statements that I don't know if they're true or not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And some of it too, like, we'll want to get that 2020 column in there, and we may want to make a comment about like, oh, it's gone up, it's gone down, here's, you know.
Right.
I think that will naturally want to be edited once we get a little more data in there. And this may be something we want to circle back to again, you know, as we get further down the line and we get that data in there
Yeah,
on a
that's what I'm
final
saying.
review.
Yeah, we got average household size, 1970, 1990, 2000, 2010, and what is it in 2020? I have no idea.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, the whole paragraph, or 3 or 4 paragraphs should be.
Yep.
And I didn't really look. Even the first paragraph, the whole 3.3 should be rewritten with the new data.
I'll make a note.
And maybe people in the planning, the planning department may have a better idea of what the trends are.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, that's really in the scope of work of our contract for them to assist with that, in addition to the charts. Okay. Are you okay to jump ahead to page 24? The chart at the top. Our population changes and selected age groups. I'd really like to see a plus or minus with those percentages. I think they're kind of confusing without it, because some may be a percentage that's going up and some may be a percentage that's going down.
So what do you want to change?
So for the percentage columns, unless I guess I should, well, no, sometimes they're decreasing. Sometimes it's a percent of increase and sometimes it's a percent of decrease. But without a plus or minus in front of those percentages, I think it's difficult to follow.
So you want another column?
No, just the percent column. So for example, if you go to the 55 to 64 bracket, it went up from 1970 to 1980.
So it should be a minus 11.
Yeah, but then it went down from
Minus 7.
1980 to 1990.
So it should say minus 7.3.
Exactly. So the percentage column just should have a plus or minus in that column in front of the number to indicate if
Yep.
it was an increase or a decrease.
Okay, but right now, they're just saying this is a percentage of 100%. 5.3, 9.1. So just the first one, under 5. 2000 was 5.1. 2010 it's 5.3. So I don't know how you can, it's up 0.2%, correct? 5.1 to 5.3. That have to be in another column. The total is under 5 is 5.3%, but it's a 0.2% increase over 2000.
Wait a minute, what numbers are you looking at right now?
Right here.
Under
Population changes.
Oh, the
selected age
total.
groups. Yeah,
the total.
the total is,
Okay.
is 5.3 in 2010, and that is a 0.2% increase over 2000. So I don't see how you can do it without another column that says it's plus or minus. Because you can't say plus 5.3.
I was reading this chart wrong. I understand. Thank you for pointing that out. These aren't percent changes.
No,
It's saying
Total
the
percent.
under 5 group was 5% of the
Of
total
total.
population.
Right.
so you could put the other column in and say it's up 0.2%, 0.2%, or whatever. That's all.
Yeah, no, I was just reading this chart completely wrong. Which makes sense why it didn't make sense to me. Population changes in selected age groups. And I think maybe it's the title of the chart. Maybe we remove
Well, it's,
the
yeah,
word changes. Maybe it's population in selected age groups.
Makes it simple.
Does that make sense to you?
well, you gotta somehow say it's population selected age groups, but it's percentage of the total population. So it doesn't get misread. I mean, somehow you gotta,
Well, they're not going by real numbers, they're going by percent.
yeah.
I think just by changing the title to me would have made me read it correctly. I was looking for, I thought the
Changes.
percent was a change because the title was population change. But really, it's just the population and selected
Right.
age groups.
Just take changes out.
What if you add demographic in there? Population demographic for selected age groups.
Yeah, that's actually good.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, Dwight. I was confused. Okay, and then I just noted that all the sources for that will need to be updated. Skipping ahead, and if I jump too far ahead, just let me know. I was confused on page 25, the third paragraph. It starts, although Canadice's population grew fairly rapidly in the past, by 2000, the rate of growth decreased to the point of contraction. Now, this next sentence, I didn't know what it meant. Unless some drastic, unforeseen change occurs, such as a significant recovery in the housing market, fueling more vacation properties, the town's population growth is likely to continue to remain flat. Does that sentence make sense to anybody?
Well, if someone's making some assumptions, but I don't think it's necessarily true.
Because vacation properties aren't gonna equal population in my mind. They're vacation properties.
Yeah.
They're not residents. They're, they're seasonal residents at best and potentially Airbnb properties.
Yeah, the whole paragraph, I mean,
Yeah, the whole paragraph.
the whole paragraph is, it gets back to the, it seems like
I take. the
they're
whole
making
paragraph.
some conclusions that
Right,
aren't true.
I take
May
the whole
not.
take the whole paragraph out.
I'll just make a note that we need to clean that language up.
And then why do we have, there again, we got, in this, excuse me, table, we got Livonia. All the other ones are, well, Springwater is a neighboring community. But Livonia, I don't know, Ontario County in general.
The other is Richmond, South Bristol, Naples, but Livonia,
That's,
just,
and what is it, the 1985, I mean, does this table mean anything to us?
I have a note that says, do we want this chart
No.
/ info?
I agree. Take it
Because
out.
it's 1985 data estimate
Yeah,
versus,
you know.
Okay.
Take it out.
I agree. Okay. So again, just needing to add 2020. I had a note that this next series of charts, the 3 in a row, occupancy type, status, and residence, for some reason, these were only updated through 2000. So I think we potentially need to add some additional columns.
Talk about 2010, 2020.
Yeah, so I guess that's the question. Do we want to keep 1990, 2000, 2010, and 2020? Or do we,
um, we need to add 2010 and 2020 for sure, right?
yes. I guess my question is, do we want to remove 1990?
Yeah.
or-
I think take out 1990. It's 30 years ago, or 34 years, 34 years ago,
Ancient history.
which we're familiar with, aren't we?
Okay, so we'll remove 1990 and we'll add 2010 and 2020 to those charts. Okay. I found.
So you got owners, renters. Do you want short-term rentals?
Probably should.
I mean, there's actually significant number. But actually, owners and short-term rentals are the same thing.
You know,
I
just-
do think we should maybe add a section just talking about short-term
Or
rentals.
just, okay,
And we
and
can,
give the number.
and we can at least add a chart that says, 20, whatever year we started, 22 or 23, this many registered, this, we have data on how many permits.
Because we do ask the question on the survey.
Yeah, and we have the data easily available, so. mine's still okay. I was a little confused again by this next chart. The table below compares the percent of increase in housing units for municipalities in Ontario County. In general, the communities that had higher population growth also had higher housing growth rates. Of course, the rates of increase for population and housing units, or even for households and housing units, do not correspond because overbuilding can occur and because formerly vacant and seasonal housing units can be converted to year-round.
But they're saying these numbers have very high margin of error, plus or minus 60%. It's kind of a
Where
useless.
does it say that?
I'm at 28.
Oh, we're on 27.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, save that for 20.
Wow. So I guess now that I'm looking closer, this is what I thought the other chart was. This is percent change. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's fine. It's making
We can
sense to me.
take out 1990 though.
And that was
there
gonna be my
again.
question. So remove 1990. Add. Got it. Okay. Now on to page 28.
Again, my question was, why have a chart that has an error of up to 60% plus or minus? What value is that?
There isn't.
60%.
60%. Not 6, it's a 60. That's pretty high.
I bet the data is better now though.
Yeah, and I do think this is interesting. And I think it says that there was a 2022 American Community.
Where's that?
That I was just reading that in the contract with Ontario
Oh,
County.
okay.
They reference some of the documents that they would use to update this. So I'll just make a note.
I would take out 80 and 90.
Yeah.
We're going to see a big increase.
Okay, any other notes on section 3 before we move on to section 4? So I just had a note, we just need to update that first paragraph. So section 4 is survey results and issues. And we would just discuss that we use the online platform, our postcard mailings. So we'll just update that intro paragraph. And then I gotta note this 4.2. Do we need to list all the survey questions in the plan, or should that just be an appendix? The way it's listed now.
I think we also, going back to 4.1,
Yep.
we want some type of footnote noting that this survey does not, I'm not sure how you word it, but it's not totally accurate in that we have no way of knowing who actually took the survey. So theoretically, we're hoping most of the people are residents of Canada, and we're hoping they just did it once. But we don't, because we're not tracking the actual people doing it, we don't know.
No checks and balances.
I mean, we need to kind of,
Sure. We can make
the
a note
survey
of
is not, we have a 60% error.
it. It's not
I think it's 59.
Okay. But I just a footnote of our survey method maybe.
due
Or-
to the anonymous nature of the survey.
Yeah, I mean, just say the method of our
Residents.
survey
Potentially.
We
could
did
have-
it online with also put some paper, but the method we use.
I'll make that note. Okay, anything else for 4.1? So 4.2 just lists all of the survey questions, which, so they list all the survey questions here, and then they have a little bit of analysis starting at 4.3. And then as an appendix, they have the full survey results that have all the questions and full answers.
This totally has to be revised because of the current.
Yeah, and my question is, do we need to list all of the survey questions in the plan and then as an appendix? Or would it be more appropriate to just have them in the appendix and have some analysis of the results? Basically remove entire 4.2 section. Or do you think because we go into the results and do analysis, there's value in having the questions listed there?
The results actually ask the question, how would you rate the quality of Frontier? And here's the answer. So I need the other page doing the same thing, same questions, and here's the results on those questions.
The results don't answer every single question that's in the appendix, but it's just analysis on some of the more hot button issues, I guess.
Seems like there are quite a few there.
There's quite a few, but it's not. That's all of them.
Yeah, I think it is. And there's nothing we can do on this till the survey comes back.
Yes, I'm just looking for feedback on 4.2. Do we think that we need this 4.2 survey questions?
Yeah, I think list the questions and the results and then any comments people have, I don't know.
So I definitely agree. I like the results section, but I don't see why we're listing the questions twice in the plan, I guess.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
And I definitely like how they attached the full results as an appendix.
How do you get them?
I can pull a chart similar like that out of the platform. I can pull it out as an Excel document or a chart very similar to that.
I don't think it hurts to throw the chart at the end of the appendix.
Yeah, I definitely.
And still discuss it.
I definitely think we need the appendix. I definitely want to discuss the results, but I don't think we need, I think that the results and the questions can be put together in one section, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See how it's listing the questions twice first?
Yeah.
And 4.2 and then 4.3.
Wait a minute, I'm lost here. Oh, yeah. I know, I understand. So take out
Just combine.
just have
Yeah.
4.3.
Yeah, just basically combine
Yeah, okay, I
the
get it.
question and then the
Yeah.
analysis.
Yeah.
Okay. It just seems redundant. Okay. And again, we'll have to circle back to this. Survey's done. And then I think we'll need to do the 4.4 issues. They sort of summarize common themes that were identified through the survey respondents. So I think that this is definitely not part of our contracts. We'll, once we get our final results, we'll need to work on that. Kind of summarizing things. did have a note here, so. Section 4.4. There is recommendations for each issue that they identify. Do we want to add like a third section and say, this is like kind of report on anything that was done to address these? Like, so one is communication, and has a recommendation, and do we want to say like this was done or this wasn't done, or do we want to just basically pull out 4.4 and add it as like an appendix just for reference, like this was, the issues identified in the previous survey and the previous recommendations, if you want to view them. I think this gets a little difficult. Polite way to say it. It's basically us commenting on actions by previous staff.
Basically now, don't we have a 5-year plan for the highway? Yeah, I don't know if that existed.
It did not.
No, so now we have a 5-year plan.
And so that could be like for the highway department and road maintenance, there's a recommendation and we could say, that's a great section where there has been improvements. I'm concerned some of these sections maybe haven't been addressed as much. And there might not be a lot to report on the recommendations having been implemented.
Why don't we see what the results are and then
Okay.
Go from there.
decide?
Basically just kind of revisit. Because we may want to keep, I'm guessing our results are probably going to be kind of similar. We may want to keep sections sort of structured as they are. And just kind of additional commentary and analysis. Okay, so we got to kind of circle back to that section 4. But I think it'll be helpful as we go through the survey results to have that in mind, some of the ways that it's currently presented to the plan. Any comments on section 4 before we move on to the final section we reviewed, which is opportunities and so I didn't have a ton of notes on this.
Some of these things have already been done, like public water supply.
Yeah, so that I didn't really have any comments on the first couple pages. I did make a note that we need to update the public water supply.
That include wastewater management.
That's a different section.
Oh, that's not.
So I have a note for private wastewater. I made a note.
Yeah.
We may want to include language that there's a grant available from Ontario County Soil and Water. And I also thought maybe.
Yeah, but that grant's temporary. Is it ongoing?
I don't know.
From what Mark said, there's a limited amount of money and you got to get in. Not everyone gets accepted, but I don't know if it's just a set. Do you know, Jeremy, on that or not?
What's that?
On the Ontario Soil and Water is giving some grants out for updating septic systems that are near water courses?
Yeah, I don't really know anything about that.
So I think this section is sort of like a snapshot of right now, because for the private wastewater section, it says there may be a countywide initiative adopted by the town for minimum standards. For public, it says possible extension. So I feel like this is kind of a snapshot of what's going on right when the plans developed. And I also have a note for the private wastewater. We may want to note that the current town code regarding septics is under review.
Well, by the time we publish, hopefully it's been accepted.
Yes. So I think we'll need to update the language there. And I guess maybe we can check in with Ted at our meeting. See if there's been any status updates on that.
Right.
And then I have a note for public water supply. I'll update this section. Based
So on private, no one's drawing water from Honeycomb Lake anymore, right?
No,
That's the whole idea of the water system.
Right,
yeah, but not everybody chose to connect to the water system.
really. I didn't think they had a choice.
They still get assessed,
Yeah, they still have to,
pay an assessment.
they have to pay, yeah.
Why would anybody do that? I wonder.
But
Just
Well,
curious.
there is still cost involved in running the line from the main
Yes,
to your
I-
house.
I
and,
remember that. I heard that.
There are some costs involved, and I think,
I don't know, is anyone drawing water from the lake anymore? That's, I guess, especially those who draw their water from Honeycomb Lake, that's kind of a thing in the past.
so it does say in the public water section, it says, the many potential customers in this area are seasonal residents and may be willing to continue to purchase or obtain drinking water elsewhere. So there may be some seasonal cottages on the lake that still draw.
Yeah, but Mark would probably have a good idea of what percentage of people hooked up to it. I mean, if it's 98% of the people hooked up to the public water supply, that paragraph becomes food. And as well as private water supplies.
Yeah, I'll to double check that. And
Or
I just
Eileen will know that too.
sure. I just have a note that will update these sections once I get Mark's updated water section. I think there will be some language that we can just kind of plug and play for those.
I mean, Eileen knows that because she would know how many meters versus the assessed population. I think she'll probably.
Yeah, how many houses in the district versus how many are. And I have a note for the wastewater management facility. I believe that facility is close to capacity. And I have a note in another section there's another section I think that talks about the wastewater treatment. And we may need to know that that I don't know how much more capacity there is currently.
So I have no idea who's hooked up on sewer. Basically everyone that has water. Be a sewer expert.
And I did have a no any extension since 2015.
So this is written 2015.
I think technically it was written in 2014 and adopted in 2015.
It's probably pretty outdated.
Yeah, and I have on my list of things that the county needs to update. There's a section earlier that we reviewed that talks about wastewater. Yeah, the infrastructure and utilities section. So I think some of the things that we're updating earlier may feed into this opportunities and constraints. We may identify like language changes and needs. Roads and highways. I'm gonna put a note here, Jeremy. I'm just gonna have you double check that one. There's a few notes about paving and road improvement priorities. So
Okay.
we'll have you just. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the opportunities and constraints table?
Private road.
I think just due to the constraints. Some existing private roads may not provide suitable access for emergency vehicles. More such roads may be constructed. But I guess that's not true because we wouldn't approve that by the planning board.
Yeah, the road, anything, if there's a new private road put in, it would be a subdivision. And they would have to make, I don't know, I would just strike the whole private road.
What are your thoughts on that, Jeremy? For the what we're looking at is a table of opportunities and constraints. So it says the intent of this chapter is to define opportunities and constraints relative to the various topics and conditions outlined in previous chapters. The table below summarizes the opportunities and constraints in a concise manner for ease of presentation. So one of the topics / conditions is private roads. And the opportunity is private ownership and maintenance minimizes cost to the town. And the constraint is some existing private roads may not provide suitable access for emergency vehicles. More such roads may be constructed.
How many private roads we have?
If their private road doesn't require access for emergency vehicles, they're not gonna be able to obtain homeowners insurance, so I think the majority of those have probably been fixed.
Okay. So would you agree with Birch then just remove the whole private roads section?
Yeah,
Got it.
Existing land development regulations. What does that mean? Familiar issues and concerns covered by foundation for. I mean, are these things coming from the survey, or is this just?
So it's based on the previous sections in the various topics and conditions outlined in previous chapters. So I think that topic and condition deserves a spot on the table, but I would agree with you, maybe we need to change the language under opportunity and constraints.
Really not sure what they're really saying,
Yeah,
except for ambiguities. I agree with that.
yeah, but I don't know.
You have the planning board, you have the zoning board. That's all
Well, are they saying the code
development regulations.
What are the contradiction, duplicates, and ambiguities in our zoning code, or?
I wasn't sure about that.
It's-
Well, and I think we've done a lot to improve those, right? Like we looked at the code update about the RVs we updated. because
Yeah,
that was
I'm sure-
unclear.
I'm
We
sure,
We just updated the septic one. We added the short-term rental,
we had solar,
solar, so like a
we had
lot,
wind.
I think we've,
I mean, the code, someone who really knows code could probably go through our code book and clean it up, but.
Yeah.
And I think there's a talk of that somewhere.
not to my
thought-
knowledge,
I
but
thought,
I think as a small community, we've done a good job of when we find things, identifying them and updating them.
it's interesting, at the planning board, the town of Naples does not have an energy. They have a moratorium on new energy systems because they don't really have it updated. They don't have a code that covers that, but we have like wind turbines they did years ago. And solar, we did, and I was surprised that you think Naples would have an updated code, so I guess they were saying some municipalities are behind. And if you don't have an updated one, you get the state, because the state can cite, approve citing without local input on large scale energy systems.
Really?
Yeah, but if you have it in your code, they will consult.
If you don't have a code, they can say, interesting.
Apparently you don't care about it, so. But, yeah, the state is in charge of the mega projects now.
Okay, so what do we think? Do we want to remove that section or update the language?
Take it out.
Take it out too. Take it out.
And as we discussed it more, I think that we've done a lot, like I say, to mitigate contradictions, duplications, and so that's not really a constraint. Okay, implications of the constraints and opportunities. I just made a note, the second bullet talks about feasibility of public water, we'll need to update that. I had quite a few notes for natural resource extraction, section 5.2.7, halfway down on page 45.
Um,
About the fracking.
I think I said I had two last versions.
Well, with the Honeycomb Lake area, or all the lakes, do we want to mention or get into at all water quality? Harmful algae blooms,
Yeah, so
runoff,
that's a different section.
okay,
This is just opportunities and constraints. So these are the implications of the constraints and opportunities. So basically, these are the topics that are in this chart.
Back now at 5.27. Fracking.
Just give Birch a second.
I'm faster than that.
I
can get to that.
I didn't want to go too
He's
fast. All
Drink
right.
a Greyhound.
You ready for 5.2.7?
Sure, go ahead.
So this section is about fracking, which we know was definitely a really hot button issue. I'm sure when this plan was being developed. I didn't know if you wanted to update anything here.
Do we have anything right now in the code on fracking?
It says, at this time, Canadice has adequate protection already existing in our zoning code, which states heavy industries of prohibited land use in Canadice.
That's good.
The current hydro fracking process is without question heavy industry and would not be allowed without variances and numerous approvals from all boards. It's very unlikely that any proposal would receive all the approvals necessary to move forward. Our concern is that future technology advances sufficiently to allow small production sites that would not fit the criteria of heavy industry. It is our intent to ensure our regulations addresses this potential advancement.
Not gonna happen.
I don't think anything was ever done with that. There's also New York State protections that may have come into play after this plan. I'm not sure when the state protections came out. Do we think we still need that section?
I don't think we really need to worry about natural resource extraction. And it was like in the 60s and 70s, people were going around getting gas.
Wells.
Gas leases under, and then that would end up on your deed and stuff like that. But I think that's kind of gone now.
So should we strike section 5.2.7?
Yeah, I think I would.
I think that it was a very big concern. Regulations. It talks about additional town regulations, but I think that those probably became unnecessary because of state regulations.
But they could change.
Absolutely. So 5.2.8 on the next page, 46. I have a note for paragraph 2. It says the town should examine ways that services, facilities, or equipment could be shared with neighboring municipalities to conduct costs. Note, at the time of this document's first scheduled review and revision in 1998, a SMART report, State Comptroller's Municipal Advisory Review Teams, is being reviewed and considered by a joint committee of Candidates and Richmond residents. The report presents a range of opportunities for the two towns to consolidate activities that could reduce operating costs. So I have a note, were there any results from that? Is there any update?
Well, this is 215, right, or 14, whatever.
Yeah, and the next paragraph talks about, there's still valid concerns about consolidation should be reconsidered.
And they have that whole SMART thing as an appendix too.
Yeah.
That's all way updated. Jeremy, have you heard anything more about share,
That,
other than you share highway stuff, but
yeah, we have shared service between the towns for highway, but there hasn't been any talk about merging two towns since probably they did that survey.
and what else do we have to share other than the highway department?
Recreational facilities. Shared recreation.
But we give money now for recreation.
So I don't know.
Right.
We keep this historic perspective and just add a new paragraph and say that, opportunities for shared services regarding highway equipment and operations have been implemented, as well as shared recreation.
I don't know, the shared highway stuff has been going on for a long time,
Long
right?
time.
Is that kind of a tradition, Jeremy, or?
Yeah, it's the only way we can get anything done. We gotta help each other, and you can't afford every piece of equipment. So, if I have something, they borrow it. If I need something, I borrow it. That sort of thing. And then there's 5 of us. We all own together one piece of equipment because we couldn't afford to buy it ourselves. So
I would strike the whole
Strike
thing
the whole
and then take out
Yeah.
the whole SMART appendix.
Got it.
I mean, the only other thing you can really share is like code enforcement. Some areas, I think they have shared they have a shared code enforcement officer full time, but
I suggested that
The code enforcement officer would be paid separately from each town's budget anyhow, so it's not really shared. It's just the same guy that's working for two different towns.
Yeah, there are benefits though, because, oh, I'm sorry, can you hear me? There are benefits because it becomes a full-time position. It's a lot easier to fill one full-time position versus two part-time positions. And then it also becomes benefit eligible, and then the towns are able to split that additional cost. So there are certain benefits,
but we're not doing it.
but we're not doing it. So it doesn't matter. Okay, those, and then I just had a couple of notes at the end. Any additional opportunities or constraints that we thought we would like to add? I said remove any of these. We already did that. And then especially for this community identity section, you know, Ontario County has the Finger Lakes Visitors Connection. I didn't know if we wanted to maybe note that they sort of help build a Finger Lakes brand and specific to Ontario County. And I don't know.
I think the results of the survey will give us some indication.
Sure.
What people want. Traditionally, candidates, you don't want anyone to know about candidates. Unfortunately, people do now know about kayaking now.
Yeah,
It's like,
sure. Sure do.
That's true. Okay, that is the end of that section. Let's pop over here to our agenda. I just have a note, continue public meetings discussion. I don't have really a ton to add or report on that. A lot of that is going to be based on our survey. We're going to work on getting some of the maps updated. There may be a couple of maps that we want to print larger to have available at the public meeting. So
we had briefly talked about the town historian or getting some historical perspective.
yes.
I see her numbers listed on. I'm gonna call her and ask if she would be willing to put, write up.
Yeah, that would be great.
We're paying her.
Yep.
Got a raise.
Okay, so I didn't really have a ton to add to the public meetings discussion. I think that's going to be a little bit of a last minute scramble to kind of, as we keep plugging away on this and the survey, I think we'll be able to really pick out those kind of topics we want to cover at the meeting. So our next meeting is going to be December. December 12th is going to be the second Thursday in December. So we'll continue reviewing sections of the plan. It looks like we've just got 3 left, 6, 7, and 8. So I'll plan on assigning all 3 of those. Just a heads up in case anyone wants to get started early. I know we're getting into the holiday season already. So we'll review those and continue discussions about our mapping, survey, and public meetings.
How are the results looking? Do you get any sense? You really haven't looked at it.
As far as comments coming in, or just the number of responses?
Just general results. I don't know.
We've got 156 responses. In general, I think they seem pretty similar to the responses we had before. People like quiet, rural. You know, taxes are a concern, identified as a reason people would think about leaving Canadice. So really just a lot about protecting the rural nature. Not a lot of demand for additional services. So kind of pretty similar to what they were before.
How's the reception been to the email sign up?
Oh, it's been good. You know, I didn't actually check that today. Let's see. How do I check that? Oh, here we go. So we currently have we have 103 people signed up. So pretty good so far. And yeah, anytime too, Jeremy, we can connect. I'll get some templates set up here in the system. So basically you just have to open it up, type what you want, and then it'll have, you know, it'll have the logo and be set up so that really all you have to do is open it, type in what you want and send it out. If there's things you want to send out about construction or weather or anything like that. So maybe we can set aside some time. I think it might be helpful if you, myself, Supervisor Vastola, and maybe Eileen all sort of, and I don't know if the code enforcement officer would be interested in using it, just so that people can start utilizing it because it's there.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Jeremy, safe travels. Thanks so much
Thank you.
for zooming in.